My female 35, husband 33, has a friend, Austin, male 32, who he's known from college. They're like brothers, and together they've extended their friend group. Now the group has over 7 guys who always hang out together. Unfortunately, Austin and I don't get along. He seems to be mocking my infertility and brings it up occasionally. It hurts because I've always wanted children, and for him to make it a constant topic of conversation hurts. My husband thinks it's just me being hypersensitive. Anyway, about a month ago, Austin and I got into a fight after he commented on my infertility by saying that I should hurry up and give him a nephew or niece because my biological clock is ticking. We were planning on going on a trip together, but Austin disinvited me because I yelled at him for what he said and ruined his dinner. I said I was perfectly okay with that. In fact, I felt so much relief I no longer had to be around him anymore. For the first time, my husband was okay with me being away from Austin, but said he still wanted to go on the trip. I said nothing till he told me he still expects me to pay for his travel expenses. I refused and said he was on his own. He started an argument about how I was doing this to punish him for not staying home with me, and told me that my issue was with Austin, not him. I told him he could get the money elsewhere, but he's unable to borrow any more money and add to his debts after he got fired in May. He insisted, and I refused. Then he started calling me spiteful and unfair for refusing to pay for his travel expenses to get him to stay home with me. Finally, he said his relationship with Austin is more significant than just a few comments Austin made and bigger than my exaggerated sensitivity and insecurity. Now he's sulking until I cave in and give him the money. Am I the idiot for insisting on not paying? Do I understand this correctly? Your husband's unemployed, in debt to the point where he has no remaining credit, and he wants you to bankroll his vacay with someone who's an idiot to you? Wow. Not the idiot OP, but why are you with him? But wait. There's probably more to the story. Austin won't have just decided to put this pressure on OP without influence granted. Mocking each other and hating on the missus is a cliche staple in some male circles. I bet that hubby is bad-mouthing OP in some capacity, or at the very least, has informed Austin of his frustrations repeatedly. Totally agree with you there. OP is likely being mocked, and Austin's just saying to OP what OP's husband says to his friends in private. Husband probably enjoys seeing his friends and laughing at his wife's expense too. Totally not appropriate or okay. Dump that loser, OP. Find a man that'll stand up with you, not step on you to help his little friends up. Austin isn't brutally honest. He's a brutal bully. So be brutally honest with your husband. Tell him he's broke and unemployed. Remind him daily why he's still fired. Then in front of Austin, ask your husband when he'll get a job. Do the same as what he and Austin do to you about your fertility, and tell them they're being sensitive. You're just being brutally honest, and it's just factual that your husband failed at his job, got fired, and is too hopeless to find another. I'd consider leaving my partner over crap like that, but I'm sure you have other stories here. Tell Austin to get out. Take his freeloading buddy with him, and get out. Maybe he'll be more willing to get off his butt and get a job if Austin tells him to. I think OP is misspelling ex-husband. Maybe OP is her hubby's beard, and Austin wants OP's hubby to wait until OP gets pregnant before OP's hubby can file for divorce. Don't get me wrong, it is 50% malicious, dark humor on my part, 50% genuinely wondering if this is the case. Honestly, with Austin's comments about wanting her to give him a niece or a nephew, it does sound like that. Austin assumes that once the baby's born, OP will be too busy taking care of the kid and out of his hair when he wants to hang out with OP's husband. And given the husband's performance in this narrative, it's probably what the husband wants and expects too. Just joining the Greek chorus trying to stop a tragedy in the making, OP do not have a child with this man. Back about 3 months ago, I lost my job as an RN following a gym accident that left me partially paralyzed in my left leg. I had to go through PT, but it wasn't super severe by any means, and I regained most mobility by last month. I'm still in PT, however, because there are certain things I cannot do, like bending the leg without me guiding it with my hands. So it looks like I'm walking with a peg leg, basically. During this time, my mother-in-law sent my husband like $600. We didn't ask her for the money, but she knew we were pretty hard up at that time because my insurance doesn't cover all of PT, and it was rather expensive, so our savings was going away at an alarming rate. Also during this time, my mother-in-law made me feel like absolute crap because she kept commenting on how broke she was and saying, well, if I hadn't helped you guys out, stuff like that. I often reminded her that we did not ask for help. She tried sending us more money shortly after that, and I refused to accept it because I wasn't about to have that crap dangling over my head, just like my scum family had done for years. I hate the "you wouldn't have that if it weren't for me" BS. It's the reason I refuse most help. Thankfully, I was able to start a new job from home about a month back, and we were able to start coming up with the money to pay mother-in-law back. Well, my husband went to his mother's yesterday to give her a portion of the money we owed, and when he returned, he started talking about wanting to give his mom like $400 extra. I asked why, and he mumbled some excuse of, well, she didn't have to help us. I told him I wasn't about to do that because $400 is like 34 hours of work, close to an entire paycheck. Well, to sum it up, he later admitted that his mother had said that she deserves interest on the loan since it took us so long to pay it back, and she almost went broke trying to help us. Generally, she is not a money-hungry person, or even this ignorant, if I'm being honest, but I'm still unwilling to do it. I said no, and if he plans to start paying her back interest, especially where he's been doing other things for her on top of this, like redoing her porch, painting her house, burning brush, mowing her 6-acre lot, etc., then I would be rethinking my options and potentially pulling my money from the shared account because I'm not going to be funding his mother extra money on a loan we didn't ask for, and now it's going to be cutting into my paychecks and bill money. He kept arguing, saying she didn't have to help, so I snapped and said, I didn't ask for help, and I said no. I was calm before this. He says I'm an idiot for losing my cool over money and that I'm acting selfishly because, again, she didn't have to help. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. $400 in interest on a loan of $600 for 3 months? That's over 260% APR. She's a loan shark. I hope your husband's not in charge of the family finances. Are you 100% certain he didn't accept extra money from her behind your back? Because that's more interest than a pawn shop or a cash advance would have the gall to charge. And it sounds to me like he's trying to cover paying her back in full without admitting to you what in full actually is. Drop her a text and say there's some confusion about how much she lent you both. Can she clarify? Technically, she gave you a gift of $600, and that's how any court would see it if she decided to take you to small claims. First, any interest charged has to be agreed upon in writing before you even accept a loan. What that entitled mother-in-law is attempting to charge is usury and is illegal. Even if she was going to claim a super high interest rate, the kind that families who like each other would never charge, say 25%. You need to make your husband understand that all of the small chores he does for her have a financial cost or burden that he's giving away for free. If mother-in-law wants to play a tit-for-tat BS game, I say let her bring it on. Not the idiot, and do not pay a $400 VIG on a $600 gift. My 45 male wife died a year and a half ago, leaving me with our twins, Sam, nearly adult male, and Sienna, nearly adult female, and our youngest, Sean, teen male. I love my kids with all my heart, but honestly, my wife was the one that held us all together. Not that I wasn't involved, but she was the nurturing one who handled many of my kids' more personal issues, and they usually came to her about things before me. Sean came out to her first, before anyone else. She looked after everyone. Things have been less than stellar since she passed, and none of us have taken it well, especially not me. The kids are all over the place. Just over the last year, Sam has started dating this girl that he skips class for and follows around everywhere, and his grades have dropped. Sienna's been taking and selling her mom's old pain meds, while Sean quit wrestling and spends his time sneaking boys in and out of the house at all times of the night. I'm just at a loss as a dad right now. The straw that broke the camel's back was when Sam came home Friday night and told me he wanted to drop out of his senior year in the fall to ride around with his girlfriend around the country. I decided then that I couldn't handle this, and I told all the kids to pack some clothes and that we were going to my parents'. I called my parents ahead of time and explained the situation and that I needed the kids to stay with them for a few months while I got our situation sorted, and they agreed. When we got there, I told the kids the plan and that we would start family therapy soon. Of course, they were none too pleased about it, but they understood. On the other hand, my brother didn't, and they came over yesterday when they found out and told me that I was taking advantage of our parents and that as a man and their dad, I should be pulling my family together. I tried to explain why I was doing this, that I couldn't be the dad they needed right now, and that their grandparents could give them the stability and attention I can at the moment, and they would be less likely to get in trouble with them. Instead, they just told me I was a crap dad, and I needed to try harder instead of making them stay with their grandparents. Am I the idiot here? You are the idiot. In the past, you admit you dumped the emotional work on your wife. For the last 1.5 years, you never went to therapy, didn't get your kids into therapy, and you say you also didn't step up. Now you kick out all 3 children and put the responsibility for them on your grandparents. I'm sorry for your loss, but you definitely made mistakes in my opinion. Not the idiot. It's not going to look heroic, but if you're at your limit, you're at your limit. Trying to power through on empty will leave even more of a power vacuum. As long as you don't safe surrender them to your parents, and you're still a consistent presence during this process, it's making the best of a bad situation. Get better, then get your kids better. I hope it works out. You are the idiot. I'm so sorry for the death of your wife, but remember, you didn't just lose your wife. Your children lost their mother. It would help if you grieved with your children as a family, not send them somewhere else so they must grieve without you and you without them. Family therapy is a good idea, but it should have happened a long time ago. My boyfriend, 29, and I, 26 female, are currently long distance. We take turns visiting each other. He came to see me after almost 2 months of seeing each other. We finally were to make plans. I requested to have 5 days, which was approved by my job. I've worked there for 6 years. It was after my shift and I was heading out quickly. I had to pick my boyfriend up from the airport. I clocked out, and while I was saying bye, my new boss of 2 weeks stopped me, and he asked if I could cover a shift since one of my coworkers called in sick. We're short-staffed and he needs me to stay for a couple of more hours. I had a 10-hour shift. I was exhausted. I responded, "No, I'm sorry, but I'm unable to, and I can't stay late. I've covered it before. I don't mind, but I had somewhere to be." I mentioned I was picking up someone at the airport. He told me they could take an Uber. My boyfriend wouldn't be happy with me if I did that with him. Also, he has no key to my apartment. No one else wanted to stay, and I was the 3rd person asked to stay that said no. I said, "Sorry, I just can't tonight. Another time." He called me a lousy worker, and I'm not a team player. I said I'm not a team player, and walked past him. I called out, "I'll see him in 5 days." While driving to the airport, I kept getting calls and texts from him. It got so bad that I had to pull over and turn off my phone. Finally, my boss wanted me to come back to work. I had to turn on my phone so my boyfriend could contact me. My phone was flooded with text messages, ding after ding. I think I got close to 15 texts. I blocked his number. I was so happy to see my boyfriend. I was getting emails from him constantly when I was supposed to be on my time off. I don't respond and I rarely take a vacation. One, he was asking me stuff to which I don't know the answer. Second, even if I did, I'm not telling him. I don't know, it was starting to get petty. I still had fun with my boyfriend. When I went to work, my boss called into his office. He blew up at me for being unprofessional and is still new to this job. I should have helped, or at least replied to the emails. I responded other people could have helped him. It's not my responsibility when it's my vacation time. I got my first ever write-up. Is this something I'm missing? Did I do something inherently wrong here? I'm considering reporting him. However, he is still new to his job. Am I the idiot? Edit. I'm Canadian. Not the idiot. What he did is unethical. He's a lousy boss with incredibly poor boundaries. Get straight to HR and report him for harassing you on vacation time. I would also formally request that time off be reallocated to you, as you had to spend it worrying about your boss's reaction. You do need to report him. I guarantee you're not the only one he's doing this to, and it'll only worsen. If you were the third person to say no to taking over that shift, what did he do to the first two who said no? Did he harass them too? Did he only do it to you because he knows you're a team player and more likely to cave? Either way, he's an idiot, but it might be interesting to know which kind of idiot you're dealing with. I once had a boss pull the "I've asked everyone else, you're my last option" card, and when I asked my colleagues, none of them had been asked. People like this boss might not have asked, or if they did, not pushed back on when someone said no, apart from OP, because of many things, gender being one. Perception of the likelihood of reporting him could be another. Yep, report to HR in writing and show all text and emails. Hold that info for the Labor Department, just in case you get fired. You may want to start looking for a new position if he's still your boss, because 1, he will turn it into a toxic work environment, and 2, you'll be replaced once he no longer needs you. Someone who's unprofessional will hold a grudge. My son has a teddy bear that he's very attached to. Since he takes it everywhere, it isn't in the best shape, and my husband's tried buying him new teddies, but he still prefers his old bear. I flew home from Greece 2 days earlier than my son and husband. When we got here, my son kept asking for his bear, but I couldn't find it. So I asked my husband where it was. He told me he had left it there because he had bought our son a new teddy that he liked more. I thought he was joking, since our son will play with the new teddy, but he'll always go back to his bear. So I told him to go back to Greece and get it. But he laughed me off and said that he'd get it in 2 weeks, as that's when he plans to return. We ended up fighting because I told him I was being serious and he needed to go back immediately. And he said I was being ridiculous, and this was why our son was so attached to the teddy. I was even angrier when it was time for our son to go to bed, but he wouldn't stop crying because he couldn't find his bear. So I brought up how he needed to go and get it again, and I wouldn't drop it until he agreed to go sooner. Am I the idiot? Everyone's the idiot here. Him for leaving the teddy, you for being annoying about it and not even considering the most obvious option, having one of his family members send it through the post. Like, hello, climate impact? 2 flights for a teddy bear? You are the idiot for making him go back. Also, your child will learn to live without it. It's not the end of the world. It'll be a couple of sleepless nights, sure, but it will end. Grow a pair. Your son needs to learn how to deal with disappointment, and so do you, to be honest. I feel bad for your kid's father. Not the idiot. All the adult logic in the world can't override your son's reaction. It doesn't matter how other teddy is better, or whatever. Your son is bonded and that's that. Husband needs to make it right ASAP. But far more importantly, he needs to really understand that other people's lives aren't governed by his opinions. His son is his own person, and husband needs to respect that quickly. I can't believe these people would diminish a little kid's feelings like that. It's just a little kid. That poor kid. And he's just 2. My heart breaks for the little guy. And for that alone, I would send hubby's butt flying with a one-way ticket to his relatives. Imagine being a bully to your own son. Disgusting. So it's a little weird that a grown man is enforcing his toy preferences onto a small child. That isn't normal. I get the feeling OP isn't telling us everything if she's trying to make a man do an international flight to get the damn teddy. I, 25 male, am extremely lucky to be marrying the woman of my dreams. Maya, 24, female. I'm originally American, but moved to Norway when I was 19 to get a college education without paying an arm and a leg. I met Maya when I was 20, and we've been together ever since. We recently got engaged and our wedding is planned for this fall. I wanted to tell my family in person about it, so we planned a trip to visit my hometown to announce it. This is the third time my parents, 55 male and 52 female, are meeting her in person, and the first for more distant relatives. We had a big dinner at my aunt's, 57 female, Deborah, house, where we announced it, and most of my family was ecstatic and congratulated us. My mom, Deborah, and one other aunt did not look that happy. I didn't really pay it much mind at first, but as the evening progressed, Maya told me she felt super uncomfortable with the glare she was getting from the three of them. She's quite shy and not very confident in her English, so we talked in Norwegian between the two of us for the most part. Of course, when talking with my family, we spoke English, but I started to feel the chill from my mother's glares whenever the two of us were talking. I told Maya I'd be right back, and I talked with my dad about what the deal was. He just kind of shrugged and told me, "You know how your mom gets with women you're seeing. Don't worry about it. She's just upset to see that her son is putting roots down and ocean away." He was wrong about not needing to worry. After dessert, my mom stood up and gave a toast. "Cheers to my son and his fiancée. She may not be the best woman for him, but I'm sure he'll realize that once he sees what a witch and gold digger she is. Or maybe she'll grow a conscience and save him from himself. Cheers." Maya left the room crying, and there was a long silence, aside from my mom's and aunt's snickering, before I broke in and said, "You realize that's the choice for who the most important woman in my life is. The three of you aren't welcome at the wedding, and Maya and I will be staying at a hotel for the rest of our time here." And then I left as quickly as possible with Maya. I feel bad for putting Maya through that and don't want her to have to deal with anything like that on what's supposed to be one of the happiest days of our lives. But at the same time, I've been getting calls from my family about how unreasonable I'm being, that my mom was drunk and is just worried about me, etc., etc. My sister, who's no contact with our mother, told me that I royally messed up and probably burned most of the bridges with our family, or at least our mother's side. My mom is very enmeshed with me, and this is part of the reason I moved. She's a narcissist, and my childhood was very much a golden child scapegoat dynamic with me and my sister. Our relationship is much better now, but my sister has a panic attack every time she meets my mom, and that's probably the biggest reason she's no contact. So my sister's opinions matter to me. She's not taking my mom's side. She just knows that I've tried to keep my dad in my life, and this will probably make it difficult to impossible. A lot of my mother's side has said that they won't come unless I re-invite my mom and aunts. My dad said he can't come unless my mom can go, and he really wants to be there. I don't know what to do, and Maya said it's my choice, but she really doesn't want them there. Am I the idiot? Edit. Maya's English is great. It's more about being self-conscious about her accent. My mother made a comment the first time we had a video call, and she's been uncomfortable talking to my family in English ever since. We can't elope. Her parents have already started putting down deposits and making reservations because we're having our wedding in Norway. Most of my dad's family is sane, and they agree that my mom was so beyond the line that I can't invite her. My father is in the least enviable position I can think of, between a rock and my mother. I'm trying to think of ways that he could come, but unfortunately, my mother would almost definitely find out. Not the idiot. You need to put your future wife first. She did nothing to your mother and aunts, and they were vicious. Your dad sounds like a doormat. Using your love for him to basically blackmail you into inviting your viper of a mother is pathetic. OP? Good goddarn riddance. Your mother will only get worse, and your dad will be no help. Don't invite your mother and aunts. Oh boy, in vino veritas. Drug mother let out what sober mother thinks. What your mother said and did was pretty much unforgivable, and the way the rest of your family has reacted shows them up for what they are too. I hear Norway's lovely for weddings. Honestly, I would cut them loose and invite your friends and her family only. Any kind of compromise now will be hurtful to your fiancé. Do you really think your mother will behave at the wedding? Good on you for standing up for your fiancé. There's no excuse for that. Not, oh, you know how she gets, or she was just drunk. You don't call your son's fiancé a gold-digging witch and a toast, laugh at her, make her cry, and get invited to the wedding. Good riddance to those standing with her and your aunts. They'd have probably laughed too if they were there. Also, you didn't burn any bridges. Your mom lit a fire and you walked away. If she regrets it now and wants to build a new bridge to replace the one she burned, she should get a crack-a-lackin' on figuring out how she'll apologize and make amends to Maya. It's really too bad there are so many people in your family who are unable or unwilling to see this. Marry Maya, move an ocean away, and be happy without that kind of nonsense in your life. I, 28 female, am getting married to my fiancé, 30 male, in a few months, and we're finalizing all the details for our big day. One thing that's been causing a bit of tension is that my sister-in-law, 27, just had a baby a few weeks ago, and she's been insisting that she bring the baby to the wedding. From the beginning, we've made it clear that we don't want children at our wedding, as we want it to be an adult-only affair. We've communicated this to all our guests, including my sister-in-law. Still, she's been pushing back and saying that she can't possibly leave her newborn at home. I understand she's a new mom, and it can be tough to leave your baby, but I feel she's being unreasonable. This is our special day, and we've planned it to be a certain way. It's not fair for her to come in and disrupt that. I tried to explain this to her, but she got really upset and accused me of not caring about her or her baby. She's even threatened not to come to the wedding if we don't allow the baby. I'm starting to feel like maybe I'm being too harsh, but at the same time, I don't want to compromise on what we've planned for our wedding. Am I the idiot for telling my sister-in-law she can't bring her baby to our wedding? Not the idiot. However, with child-free weddings and newborn babies, you're going to have people who aren't going to be there because they couldn't make it. It's sad, but kids are a priority in their minds. It is not reasonable for her to insist that she cannot get a sitter, cannot leave her baby with a friend, cannot do anything but try to force you to change your wedding around to accommodate her. It's not about her, so she can stay home. Sad that kids are a priority in their mind? A mother not making her new baby a priority would be sad. It's a newborn, moron. What do you expect her to do with her baby? You are the idiot, OP, because you're calling her planning not to come as a threat. That's the only reasonable option left to her. If you want her there, you will need to make an accommodation for her baby. A few weeks old is far too young to expect her to leave her child with someone else. If you're unwilling to make an exception, tell her that you understand entirely she won't be able to attend. But also don't be shocked if she finds it hurtful that you'd rather her not be there than compromise your perfect wedding vibe. Exactly. And it's not just about having a babysitter, but also the whole logistics. If she can't feed the baby at regular intervals, then pumping is a pain, and having to figure out where or how to store milk safely. Finding a discreet place to nurse a baby under a nursing cover is easy. However, it's not easy to discreetly pump, clean the equipment, and then store the milk safely. Something is telling me that OP doesn't really understand the logistics involved. My husband got a well-paying job about 8 months ago. Since then, he's become a bit full of himself and started acting very weird with me and around others. He now acts like everything is paid by him, despite me having an above-average salary too, and us sharing finances. At first, it was nice things, him bringing me flowers, taking me out to dinner, booking us a spa weekend. But then suddenly, everything was about him treating me, the smallest things too. I had to listen to his, pick yourself a nice, insert literally anything here. I will buy you anything, even at the freaking cheese counter. The normal things we bought before too were now suddenly treats from him, e.g. the softer toilet paper I like. I tried to talk about it with him several times, but he didn't understand the problem. He acted like this in front of others too. Everyone had to know how much money he made and how lucky I was to be treated so well by him. The last straw was when some friend of a friend said something sexist like, "Women are really good at spending all the money we men make, right?" And my husband laughed and replied that he knows it very well. He just bought me an expensive new bike, and I barely even ride it. The mentioned bike was bought partially from money I got from selling my old bike, and the rest of it was paid with the bonus I received at my job. That was when I decided to start looking for a better paying job for myself. It took about 3 months. I got rejected a ton, and I didn't tell my husband I was interviewing. I got lucky and got a job offer with just a slightly higher salary than my husband's. Instead of being happy, my husband said he felt betrayed by me. He accused me of being petty and not being able to handle him making more than me, despite him trying to make me feel like his money is mine too. When I told him, he did the exact opposite. He said he was just happy he could finally contribute to our marriage too, referring to how my parents paid for our down payment. I think him not being happy about my new job really shows I was right all along. But on the other hand, it's true that I only started looking for a new job out of frustration with him. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. As long as the scales were balanced, he was okay. The moment he had an advantage, you saw his true colors. He has to put others down to feel good about himself. He equates money with the value of the person. He's about as deep as a sheet of paper, an abusive piece of paper. Watch out if you ever find yourself on the wrong end of the scale again. He is not a charitable person. Agree, he's a very red piece of paper. OP, he should be happy for you, not berating you. I also think it says a lot that you felt you had to do this behind his back. That's not the basis of a healthy relationship. Instead of being happy, my husband said he felt betrayed by me. He also sees OP making more money. That will in theory benefit them both as a personal attack, which is so sad. Honestly, I wouldn't care if my spouse ended up bringing home more money after being petty towards me. We're in this together. Money will help our future together going forward. If he's going to stay bothered by the extra income because you're the one who earned it, clearly he never saw what he earned as money for the household to be shared between the two of you to begin with. I'm 44, a single dad to 2 kids, Audrey, teen, and Emily, tween. We have a great relationship, but Audrey can sometimes be rude and demeaning, saying cruel things casually when she's displeased about something or in a bad mood. Emily, her little sister, looks up to her, often mimicking her behavior, which worries me. I cooked a nice Sunday dinner, and Audrey stormed downstairs in a bad mood for who knows what reason. She was a downer, whereas Emily and I were cheerful. I asked her to improve her mood, please, instead of ruining the dinner. She turned to me and unleashed her anger. To quote some of her elegant words, "Can you stop lecturing for once? You're annoying as heck, and seriously, you're the one who ruins everything." I stood up, took her plate, and dumped it in the trash can. I told her since she can't bother to show me any basic respect, she should start providing for herself from now on. She said she'd make cereal, and maybe I was an idiot. I said no, that's my milk, and she should get a job so she can get her own groceries. I don't feel like I yelled at her. I felt like I spoke calmly, but when she realized I was being serious, she got upset and started crying and ran to her room. We haven't talked since. Obviously, she's mad at me, but now my youngest daughter's mad at me too, saying I acted like a huge jerk to her sister. I, of course, don't see it that way. I don't tolerate being spoken to with such disrespect, and it did hurt me a lot hearing Audrey say those things to me that were uncalled for. So, was I the idiot? Obviously not winning any Dad of the Year award, but will I be winning any Idiot of the Year awards? Edit. I forgot to include that my daughter also made a snide comment about the food not looking good, which was what triggered me to throw her plate away. I did ask her twice at the beginning what was wrong and why she was in such a bad mood. Her response was sarcastic. You wouldn't get it. I asked why not, and she just sighed. I mean, yeah, you are the idiot. I get being annoyed, and I get punishing her, but you threw away her dinner and told her to get a job to provide for her own food and wouldn't let her eat? Like, my dude, when was she gonna get a job on the spot to get a paycheck to buy dinner? I don't know. I don't really agree with withholding food from a kid like that. Yeah, and she should know she can always depend on her dad to provide love and care. Instead, he's teaching her conditional love and that he'll withdraw his care when he sees fit. Extremely unhealthy. No wonder she didn't want to tell him what was happening with her. I mean, who's going to go pour their heart out to a guy who'll starve you as punishment for acting like a teenager when you're a teenager? I mean, wow. Dude, you're a grown adult who apparently can't regulate your emotions. For example, throwing away her food because you're mad. How do you expect your kid to? Should she talk to you that way? No, but she's probably going through something and could use some grace. I'm sure you have a lot on your plate also, but you're the adult. She's your kid. I'd apologize and work on your communication skills. I, 23 male, am finishing my undergrad in the spring and won't be starting law school until ideally this coming fall, but potentially next fall. Naturally, my intention has been to return home for the interim, as I have between classes up until this point. Now, my mother, 53 female, is suddenly requesting $1,000 a month in rent for the room I use at her place. This has nothing to do with finances. She's a landlord on a 6-figure salary from her teaching job. She doesn't need my money. I'll avoid poisoning the well with details of my relationship with my parents, but I will say, I don't think I owe any parent anything. If you choose to have a kid, that's a lifetime commitment to them. I didn't ask for it. I'm about to start going down the list of names for help. I don't have anywhere else to go, and I certainly am not going to have thousands of dollars to give anyone anytime soon. My mother insists that this is normal behavior, and my father agrees and wants nothing to do with myself or her. Am I the idiot for expecting my parent to try and help me? I expect to not be charged living expenses by a parent who has no financial incentive to charge me living expenses. I have no student loans, but that had nothing to do with my parents. They never saved a cent or paid a dime regarding my tuition. For the record, splitting an apartment in the college town I live in would be about $800 monthly. I find charging rent to your own kids very strange, especially if you don't need the money and if the kids are studying or working toward a goal of some kind. So on principle, I'd say not the idiot. That being said, putting mother and father in quotes and the way you said you don't owe them anything makes me very curious about your relationship. If you choose to have a kid, that is a lifetime commitment to them. OP, how long do you expect a free place to stay? Not judging, just asking. At some point, you are an adult and should be responsible for yourself. Welcome to the club. What are you going to do for the 15 months after your undergrad? You should be working and paying rent. Your earning potential is, relatively speaking, higher than average since you have a degree, and not everyone does. Dude, maybe she's teaching you how being an adult works. If you choose to have a kid, that is a lifetime commitment to them. Yeah, no, it's a commitment till they're adults. You've been an adult for years. Your mommy doesn't need to pay for all your expenses now. You are the idiot. Pay rent or move out, and pay rent.